When you're watching Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, there are a lot of things I like about this movie and some things that I wish that they had done more with. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I get the feeling that every time you think of like the multiverse, you're trying to bring in all of the extra superheroes, right? Like you think about the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and you think about like all of the little things that I guess the MCU didn't have or didn't bring in, you know what I'm saying? And because the last Marvel movie with Spider-Man brought the other Spider-Man in, I thought that it would make sense for the other ones to come in, you know what I mean? For all the other stuff, but that didn't end up playing out, you know what I'm saying? And they did have like little cameos here and there, right? Some cool stuff. And I thought that was really, I thought it was cool, but it didn't feel like it had all that much impact to the story or that it really mattered all that much. I feel like it was just kind of, it happened for like shock value, but it wasn't important, if that makes sense. But I did like that they tried it, you know. I did like that they made it different, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, it's nice to see people pop up, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little bit weird for, I don't know, for them to appear and then kind of do nothing. But anyways, let's start with the beginning, huh? It starts off with Doctor Strange and America Chavez, I guess in another universe, and America's trying to survive and get away from a monster. That Doctor Strange is like, all right, I can't save you, but I can't let it get your power either, so I have to kill you and whatnot. And then America Chavez like activates her ability and gets out of there, and she ends up with our Doctor Strange. And I have to say, Doctor Strange is so unique, and I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job with the character. He really embodies him very well. It's easy, you know? And oftentimes when I think about like the other Marvel heroes, I'm kind of like, okay, I know this character and it's pretty easy to know like what I'm going to get from them. With Doctor Strange and with the magic stuff, I feel like we really only scratched the surface. Just because there's so much that they can do, you know? There's so much that they can do with magic, with Kamar-Taj, with students, with basically everything. Magic is just a blank page, you know? They could really bring in new concepts and ideas every single time. And it's a great way to like show it off and to make stuff happen, you know? Like in Spider-Man, they were able to do the whole forgetting spell. Like all of that is really cool. So I don't know. I feel like I just need a little bit more background and understanding of like maybe the education or like how one becomes a student over a Kamar-Taj like on a regular basis. You know what I mean? They're not all, I mean, at least I don't think so. Not all of them are like Doctor Strange, who's like, my hands are broken and I'm trying to heal. It's like some people are there because, I don't know, maybe their family member is capable of magic, or maybe they discover that they can use magic, or maybe they're like America Chavez, who's like has a gift from another dimension and stuff, you know? I don't know. Hopefully it makes sense or it clicks, but I don't know. I just wish that they kind of went a little bit more in depth on certain aspects of Doctor Strange and of the magic stuff. But anyways, we kind of see that she shows up in their universe. She gets chased by some monsters. Doctor Strange goes to Palmer's wedding, which I thought was like, I mean, it has been what, 6 years since the last Doctor Strange movie, so I guess bringing her back in and stuff like that, like a lot changes, you know what I mean? A lot changes, so I don't know. And there's like the additional 5 years he was blipped, so maybe she found love in that time and stuff. But anyways, I just feel like, you know, when it comes to the romance stuff, it kind of feels a little, it falls a little flat. But in this one, it does feel sincere, you know? I just wish that they had more quality time, let's say. I know we get a little brief flashback of them, and they obviously work together, but I just wanted to see, I don't know, maybe more of a build-up or of a relationship, but it does make sense that it's just like, it just never ends up working out, you know? And then, I don't know. It's complicated. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is, dude. It's always complicated with these superheroes and their relationships, and it often feels like sometimes they don't really get the. Well, that's not true, but maybe you get what I'm saying. Is that more often than not, to be great at something, you have to sacrifice something else. And in Doctor Strange's case, it's like he's great at being a sorcerer. He has a real talent for it, and he's really good at it. You know what I mean? He's grown considerably in such a short amount of time. But I don't know. Losing. He loses. You know, Rachel McAdams, which is a huge, like, you know what I mean? That's a knife in the heart. You know what I mean? Losing Rachel McAdams, but it's just disappointing that, you know, to be great at one thing, you have to lose another, and he doesn't ever really get to, I don't know, I guess, have a relationship, you know, or have any kind of, like, love, you know? So, all the magic in the world, and you can't get love, you know, that's sad. It's really sad. So, basically, America Chavez comes in, and she's getting attacked by monsters, and they're trying to figure out, like, who do they know that can help them out, or, like, take on demons and whatnot. And Doctor Strange is like, I know somebody, and he goes over to Wanda Maximoff. She thinks he's over there to talk about Westview from WandaVision, and I contemplated watching it and maybe reviewing it, but I don't know, maybe another time. Maybe I'll just do all the shows, like, another time afterwards, but I have seen it. It's just that, like, I don't know. I guess to be very brief about it is that, like, she took over the town, and that's the big deal. But anyways, Doctor Strange isn't there to talk about that, so, and it didn't really matter in the long run. But anyways, he finds out that she's the one going after America Chavez to get her ability to travel throughout the multiverse, and then basically be with her sons, you know, her fictional made-up sons that she made up, but she knows that they exist and she wants them. And I have to say, it was really interesting to see. I think it was really interesting to see Wanda become this witch, the Scarlet Witch, for her to become the villain of the story, you know? It is interesting, and I think that there was a lot of possibility there. I just feel like, not that the emotional angle isn't good, I think that that was the right choice for her, is that, like, she wants her family, you know? She wants Vision. She wants the boys, but, you know, she can't have it, you know, and that's heartbreaking. And I guess it would drive you mad if you go to sleep and you dream of your kids and you're like, they are out there, you know, I dream of them. I see them in my dreams. I'm able to communicate with them and I can feel them, you know. And she wants them so badly, so desperately. And it would drive somebody insane. And somebody with the ability to traverse the multiverse, well, that's too good to be true. So I sympathize with her, you know what I'm saying? I think that maybe it could have been like, I want to be their mom, or like she wants to bring them here. I don't know. I think that was as good as it was gonna be. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, they Doctor Strange is like, well, now we have to fight you, and so Wong and Doctor Strange fight at Comertage, and I actually really like that sequence. I actually really like that fight with all of them at Comertage. I think that they really implemented the horror aspects into this movie quite well. Sam Raimi did a great job bringing in like all of the kind of the spooky elements into it. You know what I mean? Where Wanda like goes into their minds and can like scare them or break them down into fear. I thought that was really good. The fight, the background. I mean, you could tell it's green screen, a bit of CGI, but it all comes together quite well. I'm not mad at that. I just feel like I wanted more action. I wanted it to be a lot more of a fight, you know? I wanted Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch to fight more, but it all just seemed like a bit like, let's get away, let's retreat, let's fall back. We have to face her together, you know? And I wanted to see her really go off. I really wanted to see her. I mean, she does, but at the wrong people, I guess. I don't know. I just wanted to see some wizard versus witch magic, you know what I'm saying? Some sorcerer versus witch magic. And we didn't really get that, I guess, or not a lot of it anyways. So, anyways, we see Doctor Strange and Wong and everybody lose over a Comertage, and so they try to trap her into like this House of Mirrors type of a thing, and she figures out a way to escape using the reflections. She escapes and she goes after America Chavez, and then Doctor Strange saves America from getting like taken over or whatever, and they go through the multiverse and they go through multiple different universes of themselves. The Paint universe, they go through like a cartoon version, they go through like a hyper futuristic version. All of those different like traversing of it, I thought that was really cool too. It was very creative, and that's the cool thing about Doctor Strange is that they can make it creative like that. They can make it like as over the top as they want it to be because it's magic and it's the multiverse and stuff. So I don't know. I think it's crazy. I don't know if it's like madness, you know what I'm saying? And that would have been the perfect time to show some cameos, you know what I mean? Like a Deadpool cameo would have been funny. Well, I guess Deadpool wasn't officially bought then. I don't know what the timeline was, but anyways, yeah, hopefully you get my point. So they could have done all of that, but they didn't, and so they end up in a whole nother reality where Doctor Strange is dead, and they have to like find, you know, whoever's in charge and whatnot. And he finds Mordo, and then they have like this little hug, and then he drugs them to fall asleep, and then they have to meet the Illuminati and stuff. It's all very all over the place, but that's the madness part of it, I guess, is that they land in a new universe, in a new reality, and then they have to face like new problems and stuff. He meets another Palmer. He has to take care and save America and get out of there. Stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think that there were good moments, and then there were some that were kind of like, I don't know, it. You know what? No. I think they did a pretty solid job going back and forth between Wanda and Wong, trying to like get across to the other universes and whatnot. And the dream walking aspect was really cool. I really liked how they introduced the Illuminati, and they talked about the incursions, and they talked about the other realities and like the messed up part of things. I like how they talked about the other Doctor Strange that got absorbed into the Darkhold, and they needed the Book of Ashanti. All of that stuff I thought was really interesting and fascinating. I just feel like the execution was a bit softer than it didn't hit as hard as I thought it was, you know. I thought it was going to be a lot crazier. I thought it was going to be a lot more like all over the place. But anyways, we meet the Illuminati. We meet Charles Xavier, Professor X is in there, Captain Marvel, Black Bolt, Captain Carter. I thought was a really cool little cameo from Haley Atwell. And then Reed Richards, Fantastic Four, played by John Krasinski. That was a huge applause, you know what I mean? That was a huge deal. And it just felt right. You know, the fan casting definitely hit it on the head with that one, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was really funny, and I was glad that they chose to do something like that. Now have I liked to see him in the actual Fantastic Four? Sure. But you know, maybe it's not something he's really into, you know what I mean? Or maybe it's not something that's like, hey, this is something I'm really serious about being or trying, you know? I think it worked as a cameo, I guess, you know? I don't know what they're going to do with the other ones, but I am interested in seeing, you know, Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby and everybody else on the Fantastic Four team to be that, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. But anyways, moving forward, we see them going like, hey, we need to make a decision about what to do with Doctor Strange. He's the biggest threat to the multiverse and whatnot. And are we going to kill him? What are we going to do? Imprison him here? What are we going to do with him? And they all kind of say like, we'll all make a vote when we deal with Wanda, because she dream walks into her new body and she takes over it and she goes after Doctor Strange and America Chavez and stuff. And so then we see Wanda in this possessed body fighting all of the members of the Illuminati. And I thought that was pretty good. I don't know. They didn't really use Reed Richards a lot. Killed him pretty early. Black Bolt died. It just... What's the right thing? I guess I wanted more of a spectacle. They gave some, but not a lot. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like they were really... Maybe they were limited by time or money and like visual effects and whatnot, but it was just like, I wanted more, you know, and we didn't really get it. It was disappointing to say the least. But anyways, I thought that was cool. And then I thought it was cool that Professor X got into her mind and then they fought in there, sort of. I mean, it was more so like she just killed him. But I like the horror aspect. It reminded me of like the Wicked Witch of the West, where like the smoke comes out and Professor X is trying to save the other Wanda and she just ends up killing him and whatnot. I thought that was crazy, you know? I thought that was definitely madness. That was definitely madness. So anyways, we see Doctor Strange fight Mordo. And I thought it was going to be like our Mordo, because we haven't seen him since the first Doctor Strange, and I want to see him fight him, but I guess things don't change in other universes, you know what I mean? He still hates Doctor Strange. He still wants to stop like bad sorcerers and whatnot, so whatever. It worked. It worked fine. But they fought a little bit, and then we had to move on to getting America and Steven back to wherever. And then we see Rachel McAdams Palmer. What's her first name? Darn it. I keep forgetting it. Palmer. We see them like working together now, and they get away or they escape and whatnot. And then I think she possesses America and opens the multiverse to like push Steven and Palmer into a new universe, and then she takes America and they go back to like her stronghold now, or her little like Scarlet Witch shrine or whatever, her new temple or space or whatever. And so with that, we see that she gets America and she wants to go to her new home, and now Doctor Strange has to go and save her. But now they're in this whole new reality, this whole new world. And Doctor Strange confronts an evil Doctor Strange, who's taken over by the Darkhold and its power and magic. And then they have like a little musical magic fight, which I thought was pretty creative. I thought that was a fun way to tie in the kind of like the horror stuff, you know what I mean? Like the minor chords and the major chords and going against each other. I thought that was pretty creative. I thought that was pretty funny. And so then we see Doctor Strange is like, all right, I'm going to have to do dream walking on my dead body from the beginning of the movie. And yeah, I thought that was another cool aspect that he had to bring it all back around, you know what I'm saying? And then he brings everybody back, and Palmer has to fight off the ghosts that are trying to kill him, or the souls that are trying to, like, you're using dark magic and whatnot to fight back. And there is a little bit of a hypocrite in there, because he is using the dream walking that he's telling Wanda she can't use. And then it goes back to like that earlier phrase where it's like, you break the rules and you get called a hero. I break the rules and I'm the bad guy. It's like, that's not fair. But on the one hand, she's doing it selfishly, and Doctor Strange is doing it to protect this multiversal girl who has this ability and doesn't deserve to die just because she wants to take over it, you know? So, anyways, I think, why did I say it like that? I think, I think that was a really cool idea, the dream walking. You can go into like another reality and take over your other self, you know? And so Doctor Strange appears before them. Well, the dead one, not the live one. And Wong is still alive and whatnot, and they fight against her. And then he does what he has to trap her and whatnot. And in the end, he kind of tells America, they're like, hey, you can do this. You can fight her. Give her your power. Fight her. You can beat that witch. And then she's like, okay. And then she starts beating up Wanda. And I don't know, some people find it cringe. I didn't really mind it all that much, but she like punches her in the face and goes like, uh-huh. And then Wanda's like, mm-mm. And then she punches her again, opening up other realities. And then she gives her ability. She gives her like, all right, here, take it. She starts punching her. And then she opens up the other multiversal world with her sons and the world she just took over. You know, the other Wanda she just possessed and took over and did stuff with. She sees her sons, and they're scared of her. And that's when she realizes that, like, she isn't the same mom, or she isn't the same, like, good woman that she was when she created him, or that version of herself that she wanted to be. She's driven by her own... You know, you want something for yourself, and selfishly it's like, because you know it's like the best thing that in the world, you know? But when you have to do so much bad stuff to get there, you lose yourself. And then her boys didn't even recognize her. They were scared of her. They thought she was going to hurt them. And she had that look on her face. I thought Elizabeth Olsen was acting the hell out of this. She was like, no, I would never hurt you, you know? And she could see it on their faces that they're scared of her, and that they're not like, Mom, you know, they're not happy about it. They're just kind of, they're terrified. She's become something that they hate, something that they're scared of, something that they don't want, you know? And that's so sad. And then you can see her break down into tears, and then we see the other Wanda stand up, the mom, and she kind of looks at her and she goes like, know that they'll be loved. And that'll be enough, you know? And it goes back to what Doctor Strange said, is like, isn't it comfort to know that even though you guys aren't together in this universe, like, there is a one where they're happy and loved by you? She was like, no, I want them, you know? And that's That's the selfishness. That's the desire. You needed to fulfill yourself, a little bit. So it's understandable. So anyways, after she lost everything, America closes the portal, and now she has to find Stephen Strange, and everything's going to end up okay, So then Wanda's crying and grieving, and now Palmer and Doctor Strange are going to get taken away or whatever. But before that, Doctor Strange gets the courage to tell her that he loves her in every universe, and that it can't work out with them, And that's sad. That is sad. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? It is what it is. And I guess it kind of shows that Wanda and Doctor Strange, they both don't get to be happy in the end, you know what I mean? They're pretty much like two sides of the same coin, She doesn't get her sons, he doesn't get Palmer, So they both are unhappy, And then Wong and Doctor Strange and Palmer, they get saved, taken back to their universes and whatnot, doing their own thing. And then Wanda destroys her temple with her in it, and it looks like she may be dead, but maybe she's alive. I don't know. I think that maybe that storyline of her, I think that's a pretty ambiguous way to leave it, you know what I mean? Could she have lived? Could she have died? Personally, I don't think I want her to be dead, but I think that's a pretty fitting ending if there ever was one, you know what I mean? She doesn't get what she wants, and I guess she just ends it right there for herself, destroying the Darkhold, destroying that place, and no longer being having to fight a battle or lose anything anymore. She just gets to be a good person by getting rid of the Darkhold, So there's that. And then after all of that, it's America becomes a sorcerer. She's over there in Comertage learning from Wong. Doctor Strange is living a happy life, and then he's oh, and a third eye opens up. I don't know. That was crazy. And then Charlize Theron shows up, and she's like, you caused an incursion. Let's go save them. And then Doctor Strange opens his third eye, and they jump in through a portal and whatnot. So who knows where they're going, you know what I'm saying? So crazy stuff. But yeah, that was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I know I probably skipped over a couple of things and some key moments, but overall, I think that the movie itself had interesting concepts and ideas. I like the horror aspect that they tied into it. I just feel like some of them weren't. You know what the problem is that it wasn't the movie that I was expecting or I wanted. When you say Multiverse of Madness, I want X-Men in there. I want this in there. I want this character in there. You know what I mean? I just want everything to fold and to be a part of it, and you just don't get that, you know what I mean? And that's not their fault. It's more so I feel like they over-delivered a bit. They were it's going to be a huge multiversal thing, but then the trailer kind of spoiled it too, because it was Professor X was in there or whatever. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know. But hey, I thought the movie was pretty good, and it has some unique stuff in there. I really like the Doctor Strange universe and the world. I like learning about the magic system and all of the different tricks that they can do and perform and stuff, like the Book of Ashanti, the Darkhold, the Scarlet Witch, that reflection trap that they set for Wanda, the dream walking stuff, all of that magic stuff I think is it's so unique, and it's so it's so fantasy, and it's so outside of anything else in the MCU, you know what I mean? And that's why I like it. I also kind of liked it when they were fighting the monster, and Doctor Strange cut the bus in half and whatnot. stuff like that. You know, their spells and their magic and whatnot. It's all really, really cool. So I'm all for that. You know what I mean? I just want them to go a little deeper on it. You know what I mean? But other than that, this movie, I thought it was really good. Again, I'm gonna like rank all of these at the end, I guess. But you know, this movie was good. It wasn't like crazy. You know what I mean? But hey, it doesn't. I guess it didn't have to be to sell the story. But I like the struggle. You know, I like the way that the direction they chose. I feel like they did it well. You know, so as well as they could. You know what I mean? Obviously, they can't have everything in there, but you know what I'm saying. But anyways, yeah, I like this movie. It's, I don't want to say it's slow, but like I would kind of skip over some of the like wedding stuff and whatnot. I just want to get to the like when the Illuminati show up and then they fight Wanda and the dream walking stuff. Like all of that's very interesting to me. So anyways, rewatchable, go watch it. I think it's a good movie. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.